I'm Damon. I play guitar and I sing in Of Virtue. We're coming over to Australia next week with Sienna Skies and Clay Gladstone. Gonna do Froth and Fury Festival while we're there with North Lane, Fear Factory, Thy Art is Murder. So looking forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Hell yeah, mate. Thanks for joining us today, Damon.
Thank you for having me, man.
A pleasure. So, as you say, Of Virtue hit Australia for the first time ever very soon, starting November the 2nd in Perth. Go through Canberra, Wagga Wagga, Melbourne, Adelaide, Wollongong, Sydney, and finish in Brisbane on November 16th. So, it's less than a week away, bro. Are you packed and ready to go, or are you a last minute sort of a guy?
Uh, I'm packed in some respects and last minute in a few other things, but either way, we're gonna get there in one piece. So.
That's the main thing now. I suppose get rid of the elephant in the room straight up, brother. Like, you've never been here before. Why have you neglected us for so long? What have we done to you?
Absolutely nothing. It's honestly, it's just waiting for the right time. I know that like because we've gone to Japan, Southeast Asia, so we've been to that side of the world, and it sometimes it's just finances, it's expensive, and you just need to bring the right thing so that everybody involved is not, just completely losing their house and their home to do it. So thankfully, Sienna, they're bringing us over. They've been fantastic the whole time. And again, trust me, we've been trying to make Australia work for probably the past 5 years and finally had a chance to do it. So we love you. Don't worry. I love a lot of bands that come out of there. So we just saw Alpha Wolf recently. So I was like,
Hey.
damn, they keep coming over to the States. We got to go to where they're at.
Very cool. So as a band, bro, like this has happened every now and then, but when you go to a country for the first time, like coming here, do you do your research? Do you sort of try and suss out what to expect, or do you come in cold and leave everything for an experience?
A little bit of both. I know that we do like to do some research and see like, what cities we're going to be in, maybe see if there's like some food places or, we like to adventure out. So it's like it could be historical sites. I know they were talking about like we all like to swim. So it's like they're like, "Oh, you guys want to jump off some cliffs?" And we're like, "That'd be fun." And it's like, doing stuff like that. I have some friends that live out there that are in like the gaming world. So, there's like esports stuff that happens in Sydney and I believe in Melbourne as well. So it's like there's a whole host of things. So it's like we try to plan a little bit, but we also know that plans sometimes don't happen and we'll just kind of take it by the seat of our pants at that point.
Yeah. What are you actually expecting from Australian crowds, mate? Like one thing I can tell you is they're crazy motherfuckers.
That's good. Hey, that's all I need to know. That's all we need to know is, and again, people that have listened to us over the years and been like, "Hey, can you get down here and blah yada yada." It's like when we announced the tour, all the reception's been great. I've been getting messages myself just from from friends, from people in other bands that we've toured with in different places, whether it's in the States or Europe or whatever it is, and they're just like, "Hey, when you get here, you're gonna have fun." Like everyone's ready. People understand too. Like you're coming from a long way away, and people, they just tell me like, hey, we know how hard it is to not only get out of the country, but for to have bands to come over here as well. So when they do, it's called you. We're gonna make you feel right at home.
So now, on the flip side of that, bro, like people here don't know what to expect from you guys. So run us through a typical of Virtue live show, mate.
Oh, typical of Virtue Live show. Well, it depends on how long we're playing. This time we're doing about 40 minutes, and it's gonna be balls to the wall the entire time. Like we have songs where you can sing along. We're gonna have songs that might make you cry, and then we're gonna turn around the next minute and see if you guys know what circle pits look like, see if you know what a wall of death looks like, crowd surfing. We're gonna get into the crowd. Like we're there to put our entire existence and being into what we do. So all we need people to do is just come ready, keep an open mind, and have some fun with us.
Nice. Now, you mentioned that you're coming over as part of the hardest part tour with Sienna Skies and play Jake Gladstone. So, what's your relationship with Sienna Skies for them to bring you over?
I've just been talking with them for a little while. We've known of them because they've came over to the States a few times, kind of in the later like 2010s. They were a part of like the Memphis Mayfire, Color Morale. So we've known about that band for a while, and it kind of just worked out that they finished up doing a tour with Of Mice and Men recently. They did another headlining tour, And our management at the time, they got together and were like, hey, is this something that we can make happen? And it worked out that they were going to do one more tour this year. And hey, we let the business people do the business things, get all the finances in order, and hey, look at we're about to be on the first thing smoking there. So
Very good, mate. And you mentioned too, you're also playing at Broth and Fury in Adelaide with Fear Factory, North Lane, Diartes, Murder, Psychroptic, so many more, bro. Like it's pretty much an international festival in Australia.
oh, absolutely, yeah, dude, it's and we love like those big festivals, and especially the ones like I was checking this one out, doing a little bit of research, and it's like I think it's like 4 or 5,000 cat festival. There's only two stages, so it's not like everyone's completely spread out. Like you're gonna have a chance to play in front of a lot of people at a really good time. And again, it being international, people know like, oh, bands are coming from all over the world. You're gonna have a chance to mingle and meet just different walks of life. And like that's the fun part for me, especially with those bigger events, is you kind of get a chance to get in, settle in, play your show, and then go off and just be a fan. Go watch the rest of the stuff. Like Fear Factory, I haven't seen Fear Factory in probably 20 years, I want to say, something like that. I saw them with Slipknot. That was the first time I had ever seen them.
Fucking hell, you're in for a treat, brother.
Oh yeah, I've seen the videos. They sound great. They sound great nowadays.
Well, now going back a bit, bro, like you started on Virtue in Michigan back in 2008. So what was the musical climate like that gave birth to the band back then? And where did you fit in initially?
Ooh, back then it was very, I can't say we really fit in, but like the music at the time, it was very heavy. It was like, because For the Fallen Dreams, my other band, like Changes was a big thing. The Acacia Strain, A Mirror, Bury Your Dead, like all these like melodic kind of beat down like hardcore bands. Or you had like the screamo stuff. You had Escape the Fate. Um, you had like The Word Alive, Falling in Reverse. So it's like you were either kind of like in the poppier side or like the super heavier, like kind of metal side. And for us, not that we didn't want to do any of those, it was just a matter of like how do we stand out? And at that specific time with our lineup, it's like we wanted to be a little more technical, still be emotional, but we kind of resided more in like a Shy Halud, Misery Signals, Poison the Well, kind of not as like popular, like a little more obscure, but it's like it gave us like the thought process of like how to search and find our own sound within the things that we like instead of always just looking to whatever's popular, whatever is, and that's not a bad thing. It's just, again, our approach was a little different given, that era of music.
Now, the dream of the music world is a lot different to the reality, bro. So, how would you say your vision and your approach has changed since you came in years ago?
Oh. I'm gonna steal that quote, man. I'm gonna steal that quote. The dream of the music world is a lot different than the reality. That was probably the most true thing I've heard in the past like year. Um, I would say how our expectations have changed and just like how we've changed. It's at first you just do it because you love it. You want to have fun with your friends, go play some shows. People, give you a little bit of gas to get there and back. And then, you know, when people actually start to, attach themselves to the music, they kind of feel the same thing that you do, if not something stronger, because you're speaking to them about something that they're going through. Then it's kind of like, okay, well, we have something here. And, the business side can definitely interfere where it's like you can make decisions musically that are based on like, oh, these numbers, or this analytics, or this thing has been proven to work, this formula. And it's like, I would say for us, it's again, kind of similar to how we started off of like not just going with like a blanket thing of like, oh, well, X band A is popular, so we're just going to sound like this. Just because another band is going to do this kind of format or make a radio song or make a heavy song doesn't mean that it's going to actually work for us either. We just have to kind of do what makes us happy first. And then we can actually look at it and go, hey, you know what? Maybe we're like 80% of the way towards like a radio song. What if we, just touch it up just a little bit? And then all of a sudden you kind of have something that fits into your ethos, into your aesthetic, and you feel great about putting that out because it's authentic to you no matter what. So there's a lot more negotiations, there's a lot more compromise, but as long as everybody kind of stands their ground and is open and honest, because there have been times too, man, where it's like I'll openly disagree with something that the rest of my band does and then turn around and eat crow because it works. And I'm like, all right, never mind. I guess I'm just gonna shut the hell up now. So
Yeah, what do I know?
yeah, hey, I'm just a guy in a band. That's it.
Your most recent album, Omen, was universally well received, bro. So, do you think that's because people are finally starting to get into the band more, or because after 4 albums, you're getting better at what you do?
I would say both, man. And kind of to touch on that a little bit, it's like when we first started out, musically, were writing songs like it was a stream of conscience. There was no formatting, no matter what. It was let's just have fun, let's just make the craziest stuff possible. And it worked for a little while, like up until our record, What Defines You, like we were touring internationally, like we were starting to get somewhere. COVID was the point where for us, it was like, okay, what we were doing was cool, but it wasn't getting us to where we believe that we wanted to be. And that's where you take that kind of hard look of like, okay, let's look at bands that when we first got into it, it's like, what are the things that made them tick or what's this? And it's like, we went back musically, we went back with our business sense, with social media, and just reevaluated everything and started coming up with a plan, like actually detailing, like, this is how we kind of want to do this, or we don't have this style of song. Let's experiment. Let's just do everything and throw it at the wall. And I think it was like a perfect storm because coming out of COVID, it feels like all over the world, we're in this like musical renaissance. Like not only like you don't have to just be, radio rock to be played on, the radio. You don't have to be this like heavy bands are probably maybe not as popular as like the late 90s, early 2000, like the new metal stuff that was going on. Because that like to me that's like the peak. Like you had like Slipknot Iowa debuting #1. Like I don't know if we're gonna see that, but we're pretty close. Like I have friends that are like, "Oh, I listen to One Direction and Lorna Shore together." And I'm like, "Wow, that's, you know, the playlisting, the streaming, like, as much obviously there's downsides to it, but streaming has allowed people the access to certain worlds to where it's like extreme music is not as foreign anymore. And I think that lends itself to bands like us, where when we started experimenting and wanting to, be catchy, be melodic, have those sing-along songs, but for us, like the musician and loving the live energy, to have those like bangers, those ass beaters that you can go up to a festival and see 3,000 people lose their minds, and it's not, crazy to have them both. And people see that they're like, cool. One moment I want to do this, one moment I want to do this. It's like you're basically providing them as like a one-stop shop for their stuff. You don't have to be just one way anymore. And with Omen specifically, I feel like we really embody that of like, hey, take it back to the roots of what we all enjoy, what we like. Let's just do everything. Nothing is off limits. And I think right there, that, behavior, that work ethic has really translated with people enjoying the record as much as they have. So,
Cool, man. Very cool. Now, just say someone is coming along to one of these Australian shows and they don't know too much about a Virtue. Give us 3 songs of yours for them to listen to get to know the band better.
ooh, I'm gonna say Sinner, Hypocrite, and Cold-Blooded.
Very cool, man. Well, before I let you go, we've started doing a new thing in Heavy called photo bombs. So basically, before I talk to you, I troll your social media and I come up with a few photos that I want to show you and get you to explain a bit more about. So
That's
where we
perfect.
start with this one. Now that was from 2018 in Germany, but I'm amazed by how close you are to the crowd, bro. Like basically they're standing on your feet.
Oh yeah, this was. Let me see if I can remember. Was it? It might have been Germany. Yeah, it's either Germany or Switzerland, one of the two. But this was our second time going to Europe. So like we were there for, my God, I want to say like 3 months. Like we toured in like 30 different countries that year. And some of the shows were smaller, some of the shows were bigger, but what's nice is like we weren't at that point where everything was like barricades and security and all this. And it's like you would have shows like these, but then you'd have shows that have like 300, 400 people, and they would just be right on us, like, screaming words, like getting into it, doing like the rowboats in the pit and everything else. But it's like that was the kind of thing for us where it's like we embody that, and it's like we take that into the other realms of music where some people might not be used to that. If you go to see 3 Days Grace or something and you're just used to kind of, standing there rocking out whatever it is, and we jump down into the crowd at you, we're crowd surfing with you, like we're screaming in your face and giving you an experience that you're like, holy shit. Like this is the energy in the world that we come from.
Did you miss those days where you could go and do shows like that, bro, without being mobbed?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is we still play some shows. Like, we did a tour just recently with a band called Dead by April from Sweden. And on that tour specifically, like there were some rooms that, they're sold out 400 or 500 cap rooms, but they had no barricade. And we would be in the crowd, like the crowd was on top of us. The energy is electric. And it's like it feels it's like punk rock in a way that you just can't replace. The energy is high. Everyone's just having a great time. So it's like if we have a chance to do both, like I'll always love doing like the intimate stuff, get everybody crowded into a room. But I also like, massive festivals. I love, the big stages, playing in front of thousands of people. Like who doesn't? You know what I mean?
Brother. Now, the other photo I've got from ya is this one. That's a whole lot of awesomeness in one area, bro.
Oh yeah. This was cool. This was actually, so this is a fun story. Um, Obviously all the bands in here. So you have ourselves, you have King 810, Josh Schroeder in the middle right here with Tyler, Chad, the singer of my other band For the Fallen Dreams. You got Ben, you got Jake from In Heart's Wake, Australia's one of finer exports. And what was nice about this, we had a headlining show late last year in Bay City where Josh records at. And it worked out to where In Heart's Wake was in the studio finishing up their record, doing a feature. And they have a song on the record called Mishigama. And what they wanted to do and experiment with was getting all of like their friends, like people that because we've known In Heart's Wake for over 10, 12 years now, since they first started coming to the States. And they wanted to try to get everybody on the song just to embody like their experience coming over here, like how they feel like where they're from and how they feel connected to Michigan. And this photo, like I said, it's a very rare thing when you can get people like this in the room all at the same time, being creative and just enjoying one another, having fun.
Oh yeah, brother. Well, we'll end up on that one, Damon. But thanks very much for your time, bro. I'll Virtue are in Australia from November the 2nd with Sienna Skies and Clay G. Gladstone. I'll be coming along to the Brisbane show, brother. So if I spot you, we'll catch up and have a beer.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, you'll see me at the merch table, my man.